They told you the world was broken, that inequality, exploitation, and suffering are just the natural state of things, that racism, patriarchy, and class warfare are unfortunate byproducts of an otherwise neutral system. But that's a lie. The world isn't broken. It was engineered this way. Every oppressive system we live under was meticulously designed to sustain itself, which means if we want liberation, we have to engineer that too. Intersectionality isn't just a tool for analyzing oppression. It's the blueprint for systemic engineering. Because true liberation isn't about patchwork reforms. It's about designing a system where oppression cannot exist in the first place. Let's start with race, capitalism, and economic justice. The racial wealth gap didn't happen by accident. It wasn't some organic economic trend. It was deliberately built. From slavery to redlining to predatory lending, every generation of Black and Indigenous wealth has been stolen before it could accumulate. The same system that denies wealth to marginalized communities then turns around and blames them for generational poverty, calling it a cultural problem instead of what it actually is: economic warfare. So, how do we erase the racial wealth gap? Not with half measures or token diversity hires. We erase it by redesigning the system itself. That means reparations, not as charity, but as correction to a centuries-long crime. It means land-back policies that return stolen wealth to indigenous nations. It means nationalizing industries built on stolen labor and redistributing resources to the people who built them. It means erasing the predatory financial structures that trap entire communities in cycles of debt and dependence. Capitalism thrives on racism because division keeps the working class fighting each other instead of the people actually hoarding power. But under Enlightenment socialism, this dynamic is reversed. Wealth is not hoarded, but used. Land is not owned, but shared. Power is not concentrated, but decentralized. Because a system that doesn't actively correct the racial wealth gap isn't a just system. It's a repackaged version of the old one. Now, let's talk about patriarchy and labor exploitation. Under capitalism, gender oppression isn't just a social issue. It's an economic necessity. Women, particularly women of color, have always been forced into unpaid or underpaid labor. The unpaid domestic work of raising children, maintaining households, and caring for the sick and elderly is what keeps the capitalist system functional. And when women started demanding equal pay and career independence, the system adapted. It kept wages artificially low so that a two-income household became a necessity, forcing women into the workplace while still expecting them to handle the majority of domestic labor at home. Enlightenment socialism doesn't empower women by letting them fight for a seat at the capitalist table. It erases the conditions that make gender oppression possible in the first place. It ensures universal access to housing, healthcare, childcare, and financial independence so that no woman is ever economically dependent on a man to survive. It eliminates exploitative wage structures so that no person, man or woman, is forced into labor just to live. It ensures that reproductive freedom isn't a constant battleground because bodily autonomy is a non-negotiable right. Under a truly liberated system, gender ceases to be an axis of economic control because the economy itself is not built on coerced labor. The same applies to LGBTQ plus liberation. Too often, the fight for LGBTQ plus rights is framed as a cultural or legal issue. But queer and trans people don't just face discrimination in the abstract. They are systematically pushed into precarity. They are disproportionately homeless, disproportionately unemployed, disproportionately denied access to healthcare, and disproportionately forced into survival economies just to exist. This is not an accident. It is a function of a system that only values those who conform to its economic structure. So, how do we fix it? We remove the material vulnerabilities that keep LGBTQ plus people in systemic precarity. Universal housing means no queer kid is ever thrown out onto the street for existing. Universal health care means no trans person is ever priced out of medical care or forced to detransition for financial reasons. A universal basic income means no one is ever forced into hiding who they are just to keep a job. LGBTQ plus liberation isn't about waiting for society to become more tolerant. It's about making oppression structurally impossible. And this is the fundamental difference between reform and abolition. Reform assumes that the existing structure can be fixed, that with enough tweaks and policy shifts, we can gradually phase out oppression. But oppression is a function of the current system, not a side effect. It is the machine running exactly as it was designed to run. So, what do? We don't try to fix a system that was never broken to begin with. We build a new one that abolishes coercion-based governance entirely, one that ensures no state, no government, no institution can ever weaponize power against the marginalized again. That means removing the mechanisms that allow oppression to reemerge. It means designing a system with a self-correcting feedback loop, one where power can never consolidate, where justice is built into the very structure of governance, where democracy is direct and decentralized. It means creating institutions that serve, not control. It means ensuring that no person, no corporation, no state can hoard wealth, resources, or political influence at the expense of others. Because a system is what it does. If the old world was engineered for hierarchy, exploitation, and artificial scarcity, then the new world must be engineered with equal precision to ensure liberation, abundance, and true democracy. The system we build must not allow loopholes. It must not allow corruption to seep back in. It must not be open to interpretation by those who would twist it back into the same hierarchy that has ruled for centuries. This is the argument we present to America. If a system does not actively create liberty, justice, and dignity, then it is not failing. It is succeeding at what it was designed to do. The ruling class engineered capitalism to function exactly as it does. So let's be clear about what we're doing here. We're not reforming a broken system. We are designing a superior one that cannot betray itself, one that will work because a system is not its intentions. A system is what it does.